Big hello from Norway. How is it going, my man? So, today we have the dwarf, which is pretty basic compared to the rest of them that we'll be working on. Yesterday, we worked on the awesome elf and had some fun, right? We did the sheer cloth on the face, all that good stuff. So today, I'm thinking we'll do like a cool lighting effect on this guy. That's why there's no zenithal, because I wanted to show you guys how to like bacon color. But so what I have is I have a spattered crimson, which is a dark red. And I'm just going to pretty loosely here. Actually, I'll flip this so it makes works. Makes works. I just read work. An hour to work. Cool. So essentially, what I'm going to do here is kind of plan out some coloration. So I'm going to get this to my regular 1:1, and I'm just going to go ahead and take this color as our base color here. It's going to dry really dark. And I'm thinking we're going to do it from this direction. Okay. So we're going to start off with something really dark like that. I have no idea how this is going to turn out today, so we'll see what happens, but... Alright, so then back here, we're going to do a little bit of wonkiness here. So I'm going to take magenta. This is clear magenta. And right where the spattered crimson's wearing off, so this is going to be kind of like a border. I'm going to go ahead and slap this clear magenta in, and I'm going to mix it in too with the red wherever it may still be active, okay? Alright. Okay, so put the magenta all over there. I need to put some down here. Alright, and then I'm going to get clear purple. Surprise, surprise. Definitely too much of that clear magenta on the palette, but it's no big deal. And like I said, we're just sort of putting this layer on here. It doesn't really matter necessarily how it dries. So now we're going to take the clear purple and tie it right into that magenta there. Just like that. Alright. Cool. So, we are pretty much ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry here. I'm going to turn on our little table fan. And we will continue from there. Now then, of course, next week we are beginning, well, next Monday is going to be should be the final one from this month, but we're essentially just behind one week. So I'll get that figured out. I haven't announced like the next kit or anything like that. I am debating on switching the store over to just patrons early, so next month instead of, so like literally next week, right, instead of October. And if that's the case, the Miniature Monday stuff will be patron exclusive. But I would say other than like one person over the course of me ever doing all these kits, it's all patrons, so I don't think it's really going to be a big deal. But the store will just be behind a password that changes every month, just like the actual like patron side has always been. But all right, so we're getting pretty dry here. So it's so hard to tell what angle to hit it from. Okay. Alright, so we've got our dried colors. So you can see, right, because they were clear colors, none of them are super intense. Really, the most intense one is the clear red. Or not clear red, whatever, the spattered crimson. But so the idea that I want to go for here is we're going to do sort of like moonlight, bluish colors, and then we're going to shift over to red. So I'm going to grab, what should we do? So maybe we do it more muted. So like I'm going to grab this surprise, surprise, military blue. I kind of use it for all my base grays, but it makes sense in this instance. So we'll do that. And then we're going to need some white. Here it is. And we'll come up from purple. So I'm going to drop some right here. We'll do a little bit of a 50-50 mix, something like that. And we'll see if this, I mean, it's going to be noticeable, but I need it to kind of jump relatively well. So let's see. Something like that, possibly, I think. So you can see how crazy it all looks right now as it still dries. So this is going to be our like base tone for everything on this side. Now this light source, I don't know what direction we're gonna have the like warm flame coming from, or like the red side over here, but this one is gonna be coming from the top right, so that is what I'm paying attention to. It is kind of driving me crazy because normally I'm used to a zenithal, which typically kills the slight shine on the black 3D primer I use, but we'll make it work. It's so funny too that magenta has dried the way it has. But so we're just gonna kind of start building this in. I'm not worried too much on like specific detailing, right? This is all about volume work. Let me go ahead and here. Let's back out. There we are. Much nicer. So really just positioning everything up this way. I'm sure you guys saw, I mean, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. The post really didn't go anywhere today. It was just funny. Sometimes my posts get a lot of reach and then other times they just sort of disappear. But Next Wednesday will be the first weird stream. I'll be working on some pretty cool minis that I already had. They're sending me some extra goodies as well, but it'll be kind of like the first run, first little doodly dad. Monday, I'll be making sure, the stream and all that stuff is good. But it should be Wednesdays at 2, will be the time it goes live. And it'll be through their Twitch, just like when I was working with Reaper, it was done through their channels. But it's actually not just through Twitch, it's also through Facebook and I believe YouTube. So they're multi-streaming just like I do. So no matter where you are, if you follow them, you'll be able to check it all out. Really not doing much down the back here, because if the light source is coming from this direction, right, my darkest shadows are of course going to be back towards the bottom. I will add a little bit of color though, just so that it exists. We'll kind of make these decisions as we move along though. Alright. So, decent setup here. I've attempted something like this a couple times to various success, but it always looks cool anytime you're doing just like a very harsh two-tone. So now I'm going to go in pretty much just directly military blue. This is now going to be sort of like when we start paying attention to direction and objects and whatever. I mean, we can get away with a little bit more than we typically would, but in terms of just volumes currently, but I am definitely paying attention to the volumes and each individual shape instead of just slapping it on like I was on that last go around. Metal objects, obviously much shinier, and we're doing like fake non-metallic metal, right? Like we're not actually we're doing it based on the color, but the material obviously will reflect more based on whatever it may be. So I'll do a little bit of highlighting down I guess that's actually the mustache, but since we're not set on the direction yet of everything, I am just going to kind of go for it. But we can obviously edit, whatever, like, there's a reason why I'm doing this color first, because I feel like it'll be easier to adjust. So our overall look. Sorry, shake warning. Boom. We were so super zoomed in there. Okay, so we're building up those volumes. Using the side of my brush here, really. All these smaller details we're gonna end up like covering over and over again, unless we just kind of do it smartly. hair is a bit shinier in general, so I am just going to do an overall highlight there, not worried about the individual strands as usual. So we build in everything. Is this bright enough for you guys? Should I brighten it by one? Let me know if that kind of helps. I know we're working on top of something that's completely black, so it's always difficult to see at first. Okay, so starting to bring in some white, get some water. It's gonna have to be relatively bright because I'm gonna go so thin. You can see how much room I took up there trying to get the thinness correct. It's like a fifth of the entire palette, funny enough. Okay. Alright, we're gonna start seeing an actual dwarf here pretty soon. Maybe. Hello, Lynette. So today we're doing something a little bit backward. We're doing like two very strong competing colors. Since this bust is so simple compared to the others, I wanted to do something a bit more interesting to look at. So we're going to be doing like a moonlit side and then some kind of warm fire or, you know, just a very warm colored light. I don't know if it's going to be coming from below. The moonlit side we're working on now is coming from the top right of the bust, so that's the direction we're playing with for all of the lighting. But, so we have this very warm red sort of base tone here into a purple, and then we're just slowly building everything up. So, not really monochromatic. I mean, it's sort of monochromatic in its each of its own ways, right? But I need a mid-tone color here. So I'm going to go back and glaze with the first little run color here. Here we go. That way that transition isn't as harsh. Okay, back to our brighter tone. Now then, the lighting isn't going to be hitting up around the eye, but because it's a bust and it's a face, right, you do kind of have to pretend that the eye is going to be visible or lit. I mean, that's always kind of something important so people know what they're looking at in case they see it from an angle where everything's visible. So even though I didn't do any zenithal priming on this guy, that's always a good tip to follow. If you are doing a bust, do try and make sure you hit the face from a bit lower angle than everything else. Since it is a focal centerpiece, of what you're painting, right? People are going to be paying more attention to this. So even though that lighting really wouldn't hit from that angle, right, because it's underneath the brow line, it's fine. We're just rocking and rolling with it as if it would do that. I won't tell if you won't. But I have the feeling we will have a lot of fun with this sculpt today. Anytime I always do something crazy like this, it's always a good time. This version, just like the other, is enlarged. All of these that I'll be painting up are a little bit larger than the regular pack. The release from Daybreak for next month, which is what this guy is from, is Tieflings, so they all look pretty crazy. He did a preview today. I felt like that edge right there was just a bit too stark. So if it's the top left, okay, so I am going to do some corrective editing here. Man, look at that already, looks so cool. Okay. So, going in for volume work with just the military blue. Again, we don't really have any plan for the direction of the other color, so this is just, you know, at least I know this is where that direction comes from. Alright, cool, that does make a bit more sense, right? Going down the beard. Let's see, so this little interior edge. Whamp whamp. Okay, cool. Brush wet here. The palette's drying on me slightly. As to be expected, I've got a fan on over my head, so.
Where do I move in this world? Could you please?
Why is it playing? Why is it playing vocals? I hate you. I hate you, Epidemic Sound.
Where do I move in this world?
Was that my mistake? That was my mistake. I did it again. Every day I forget to click the... Yep, okay, so... Other than the fact that I'm an idiot and I always forget to fix it, there's a button to filter everything without lyrics, and then you have to click a second time to like confirm that's what you're playing, and I feel like there shouldn't be a second click involved because I always forget to do it. Alright. back at it as everything continues to dry here. Dude, it is just so hot today. Whoops, sorry, I don't know where my now a lot of these details I'm gonna end up covering up again on things like the jewelry, but you know, I'm not too upset if I have to do a couple passes. Oh, see, now I can't see the chat anymore. Well, I can, but I can't see my, like, history. It's okay. I'll fix that here in a minute. If you're yelling at me that it's garlic, I will be able to tell in a minute whenever I can take a break to go check it. I feel like that garlic thing that happened with the Scholar Class Mini, that I will always refer to missing chat messages as garlic. Like, that was just so funny. He's been trying to tell you it's garlic for like 10 minutes. Too good, too good. Now you could dry brush something like this if you're a little bit too intimidated to just go in like I am and treat your paintbrush like a pencil. But remember, if your paint is thin, your brush is wet, you will always have a fine point and you'll be good to go. Really shouldn't take you too long. Oh man, we're really getting into some gold here. Got the ear. Tiny little baby dwarf ear here. Don't tell him that. I'm sure he wouldn't appreciate having a tiny baby dwarf ear, but it's alright. We won't spoil it for him. I kind of want to just like go in here, just because I'm avoiding the hair as much as possible because it's just going to be so boring. So let's do the boring part last, huh? Going into the design on his clothing. I feel like I've made a mistake there. It was just a touch too bright. There we go. Brought it back down with the mid-tone color. Alright. I'm just gonna use the side of the brush here with the mid-tone color. I don't want to go too far. The mid-tone color, of course, just being the military blue. I mean, I think I have a little bit of the purple mixed in there, but okay. Now I'll go back in. I was getting a little bit too far ahead of myself. I really do think the drying that's happening from the fan is attributing to my confusion, but maybe I'm just dumb. I would either, I believe either of those options, so. Whoop. This is a little difficult just because it's so many repeating shapes. And it is obviously very tempting to just hit them all the same amount of color every single time, even though that's not really what should happen, but okay, I'm not super upset. Why did I change my focal length? It's gonna be out of whack this entire time now. There we go. It's so funny when I'm like, oh, let me just change this, and then it's obviously the wrong move. That's how it goes. Felt like I went a little bit too far, so just going back in. More of that middle color. Now my shadows are that magenta as well, so a little bit more like visual friction, so to speak, in between the darker red and everything else. Highlighting up some of these little edges here. And then on to like actual muscle. Gotta appreciate good muscles. Maybe not, maybe it is an arm. I mean, I think it is, because I know the... So all these busts, right, from this release are all based on actual miniatures that were released previously, so like I know that this guy just has exposed arms. But I don't know if that is where it begins or not. Maybe not based on that one. I don't know, I mean, I feel like that's a arm shape, but I would have to go back and look. I think this guy is Dimitri. It's either Dimitri or Perry. I forget which. From the Dwarf release. But a good release, nonetheless. So I feel like this needs to be brighter, because it doesn't really vibe with everything else around it. But interior shadows, or interior reflections rather, I should say, are always kind of hard to hit correctly. That helped a bit though. Okay. And then further down the back we go. We're just doing the very top edge of everything. So easy peasy lemon squeezy, just ignoring pretty much everything else. Lazy, maybe, but it does make sense with what we're doing. Now then some of these hairs back here though, you know, we can strand out. Because the angle they're resting on is reflective. So a little something like that as you move around the back. Over brushing there, easy peasy. So really, that angle would be. I'm gonna grab like closer to just the actual military blue right here. It's definitely still being lit from that angle, but it does not need to be as bright as everything else. Surely, right at the edge of the other color. It will, visually, the work will be done by the other color right there, so we'll just kind of gently mix down. So that was a lot of color all the way around. But you can see now that the contrast between the two is starting to look very bright on the red side. So we have to decide the angle of the other color, which very easily could be from below. And it probably should be. But we're going to do most of the painting from this angle if we do that. So let me bounce over and pull up the thing that I can't see anymore before we make any decisions. But we're pretty much halfway done. We just have to not ruin the whole thing with the other color, which is entirely possible, of course. Okay, where did this go? Here it is. Okay. All right. Happy little mistakes. Hey, Cynthia. Okay, so... So I'm gonna grab Rust Brown. I lied. Rust Brown and Auburn Shadow probably are gonna be the two friendlier tones here as we work our way up. Or tap. Wording, but... Okay, so I'm gonna take this Auburn Shadow, thin it down. I'm gonna mix in some of the spattered crimson, that dark red that we used sort of as the base color. Alright. So, alright, I mean, I guess we'll go for it, huh? So, gonna be coming from the bottom. Let's see. So, same thing that we did before. I am not worried about details at all. I am just literally going for the direction of the light, which we are determining is going to be straight from the armpit. Okay? Alright. Armpit lighting. You gotta love it. It would be a new product on Amazon. Armpit LEDs. If they don't already exist. So I'm very loosely trailing like where all this lighting would hit. So that's why I'm already up to the head, because I'm like just really trying to hit. So like right here, there's almost nothing. So in between your two sources, there will be almost like the darkest color, depending on, you know, if the light is moving, if it's bouncing around, whatever the case is. Obviously different light sources. If it's like a neon light or something, it's going to be a very harsh transition with almost no light in between. If you're already in a dark environment, you know, whatever. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, alright? I'm just kind of bouncing from space to space. As with the other side of the head, we do kind of have to fib when it comes to the lighting directly on the face itself, but it's okay. It'll make sense, just like first few layers made 0 sense with the other tone. We'll throw a little bit of that color there. Little goes a long way. What are we looking at on time? Oh wow, 46 minutes, huh? But anytime you're painting in monotone like this, like the single blue to like light gray transition, all that stuff, it doesn't take a long time, right? You're not mixing multiple colors. Obviously, I'm having to remix the colors on the palette, but that's not really a crazy ordeal. So we're gonna do things a little bit differently. So we need a good skin tone, which, by the way, I did in fact find the tan skin. So we're gonna be doing tan skin on top of the rust brown, and then we'll glaze it with a clear orange, and that will take it in the direction of a flame. I just hate trying to mix up into like a red to an orange or anything like that. Like you have to use way more paint, depending on the brand, obviously, but most companies have very weak red pigment. That's just literally the way red pigment is. It's not like they can't figure it out, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. Alright, so now then, you know, we can get real confusing and work from the bottom up. It's always fun. So I guess this is all going to be from the bottom right, which in our instance is the top right of what we're looking at. Smaller objects, I'm just worried about placement. Again, right now we're doing volumes. Once we get to the like tan skin level of highlight, or like a direct, really it's going to be a slight mix between tan skin and then the rust brown. That's when I'll really worry about like object lining, things like that. But until then, we're just building it all up. Obviously, the more indented objects won't be getting the same reflection. For illustrative sakes, I am throwing some color in, even if it wouldn't necessarily hit from that angle. So now look, wow, okay. All right, we're getting there. We're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Am I allowed to make that joke? Is it allowed? Am I getting booed off stage? And then I'm just gonna go back with a little bit more of the rust brown directly, now that I kind of know the placement, and I'm just doing more solid application, help crisp objects up. Individual beard slash, I think I'm on the mustache right now. Mustache chunks. Oh man, that sounds like a great cereal. You want some mustache chunks? Put that in your almond milk and smoke it, huh? Every box comes with a free pair of tweezers. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. Okay. Why don't we work on some cheek here? into the hair a bit until right about there. So in some of these angles, you know, really it's like kind of coming from the left. Other angles, it's coming from the bottom left. But as long as we are, generally speaking, coming from relatively the same direction, it should all pretty much read the same. Doesn't have to be super duper precise. Oh wow, did y'all just see that? I've noticed this lens do that a couple of times, and I don't have any auto settings turned on the lens, so it's kind of weird. Still within my warranty zone line though. It's like I think it's a 3-year warranty from Canon, so if anything goes wrong, I'll just order a new one off Amazon and swap out the parts, right? Just kidding. Just kidding. I got a warranty. I made sure of that for sure. That was actually part of the cost that made it even more expensive. Even more expensive. Little hairs here, we're just going to overbrush for now until we get to the sort of skin tone stage. Which sounds very similar to Flintstone's age. Is that a coincidence? You tell me. You tell me. Big dwarf bust Pharma over here. Look at that. We'll even lie and pretend that the light should hit right underneath the beard just to make things even cooler. Alright, so then this side of the nose. Under the eye there. Because we really want the color to be visible from the front, right? We want that effect to sell. So that just means some objects are getting a bit of a more rounded reflection, if that makes sense. Kind of like it's wrapping around the bust a little more than like technically it should. You know, but okay, so this was the song where we heard the guy start rapping. I was like, dude, every time, if you guys watch me enough, you know I rage if that setting is off. I'm just like, why? Oh, does his Widow's Peak get some? Hey, okay. Who doesn't love a little lighting on some Widow's Peak, huh? Okay. So now we're ready to jump into that skin tone. And my palette is literally a nightmare, so I'm gonna go ahead and just rest in peace. We're gonna fold it up. It's kind of funny, like after I've been painting, well, usually it's like once a week, I'll have all of my folded and dried up wet palette sheets, and it's like a bunch of old art clean. It's like old Kleenexes. It always makes me feel so grossed out. It's just paint, you know, but I'm always just like, eh. All right. Who's ready? What is this? Hold on, sorry guys. Okay. So we've got our nice little skin tone there. I'm gonna get a little bit of a rust brown. Boop. And remember, the end goal here is to glaze it with orange. So this is our detailing color for sure. Similar to that lightest gray. Okay, that's probably friendly enough. Maybe a little bit more. So I need it, remember, 2 rules, right? We need it to be very thin, and because it's very thin, it needs to be brighter than really you would think. Because the thin layers we're going to end up applying are going to dry. So yeah, this is almost not bright enough for how thin we need it, but that's okay. Whoop. So just kind of seeing the level of difference there. All right. Okay, I mean, it works. I mean, we may as well just be using, like, straight up tan skin, right? But we didn't know. All right, this palette's already a huge mess. Look how much I've got all over the place. All right. Okay, so I'm just seeing like where are Whoops, sorry. So as you can see, even though yes, that looks good, it's completely from an angle you can't even see. So now I'm going to pay more attention to just sort of our straight on angle here. So that way I'm making sure it's visible. Similar to what we did in that last application, right? Where I was like, all right, well, let me go ahead and make sure at least our brightest tones are visible from the front. So that'll probably mean right here doing some overlapping brow work to make that area pop, like so. Right, whoop, yep. And then up here, maybe a little dot or 2 on the widow's peak where it's picking up the light. Whoop. Okay. whenever you're doing stuff like this, I always feel like it's kind of like a puzzle, right? Because you're piecing it together as you go. Unless, you know, you're using an airbrush, then you just kind of... But we're not doing that today. No siree. Okay, so then I'm probably going to throw some, even though the angle would be technically from the side. I will throw some in here. Maybe a little bit right there. Maybe not right in there. That is incorrect, but maybe I can adjust and do 2 and 2 on the other side. We'll see. Okay. And then I'm just gonna blast through the hair here. Bottom edges on jewelry. It's not jewelry, it's called a beard buckle. That's a beard buckle. They sell them at Beard Outfitters. You can get you a pair of dwarf boots and a beard buckle. In a move of complete insanity, I am going to lie about our light source, and I am going to highlight a little bit on the inside of some of these where it really wouldn't be, but hey. But hey, we're just trying to make it look cool, okay? So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I just want that nice contrast, right? Isn't it funny turning it from that angle? Our final move will be after the glaze, going back with like some marigold yellow or something, and we'll do little dots, a little bit of dots here and there. Armpit highlight, gotta love it. Easy enough, I'll just use the side of my brush. Alright, so. Okay, I think this is fine for now until we kind of like see our glaze. There should be something a little bit more there. Okay, not yet. Not yet, alright. I'm just too excited to see it. Okay. Alright, where you at, clear orange? Oh, you know it would be the... Oh, right here, okay. I was gonna say, you know, I probably don't even have it out, but I do. This should be good. Let's see. Let's test it like down here. Very watered down clear pigment, glazing on top of everything. But not everything, but you get the idea. Wherever we were just applying color, all of that definitely wants some. And that's why we use the skin tone, because it won't really go like creamsicle colored on you. It'll stay pretty orange. Unless you want creamsicle, then by all means you can use like a white. All right. So, some marigold yellow. And you know, this color actually isn't that much brighter than what we already have, so I am going to grab some of this awful color here, lemon yellow. It's really bad. It's pretty much just like a ton of white and a little bit of yellow. But if I need to brighten up marigold yellow, it's the color I use. I don't know why. I mean, I could, whatever. It has, you know, you get the idea. It has yellow in it instead of just straight up white. Okay, so this should be agreeable. Let's see. So I'm going to go for our metals first because they definitely are going to have highlighted edges. Any difference at all? I'll bring it around a little bit further. So I do need to lie a little bit like we did elsewhere and bring this highlight a little bit further to the front so that it's more visible. Closer to the source, down here, I'm just going to be hitting more of that yellow. Really just over brushing on stuff. So, thank you, Pete. I mean, I think we're like very close to being done in general. The idea really was just kind of this two-tone color scheme, and we've pretty much hit that. So, what's funny is, like, I literally thought if I painted this regularly that it would be like an hour-long paint job. And unfortunately, it was still like an hour-long paint job, so. But not very typical for what we do, so. 2 busts down. Tomorrow, you know, it's funny seeing them both next to each other. Here, let's back up. Now then, tomorrow, or not tomorrow, tomorrow's Saturday, geez. But the next Miniature Monday Mini, there you go, we're going to be working on is, I believe, the guy with the big sword. So he's going to be a lot of fun. Big OSL mini. Really, really cool. Or bust, whatever. And then I believe the final one is the orc. So, definitely fun for today. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. I'll take a photo of this bad boy, throw him up like I normally do, and you'll be able to check that out. And yeah, I hope you had fun. Thanks so much. I will see you all later, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.